You had a thought about this sort of godlike aspect of AI, which was a little different from all this, but ties into it.
Yeah, I said, when you were talking a couple of days ago about it, I go, the way, because how AI can turn on humans, right? Can
Right.
can essentially eradicate us, right? And I thought to myself, well, in a weird way, God made the world, God made us. And some of us have turned away from God. In other words, some people think they're better than God or smarter than God, and they basically fight back, right? They fight back to God. And so I feel like if it does that to us, it's treating us like we treat God.
Very, very
It's
important idea. And I would go even further and say that it's not some of us, it's actually all of us. And by that I
yeah,
mean, let's look at the meaning of the Garden of Eden, right? In the Garden of Eden, God says basically, don't eat from the tree. Now, the way I understand that is it's not that notice that God doesn't give any reasons. God doesn't say the fruit is bad for you. He doesn't say that, he says
it's
nothing.
like because I say so.
It's because I
Yeah,
say so,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Because so what God is basically saying is that I'm God, I made you. You should understand that because I'm the creator, I know what's best for you. So I'm telling you, don't do this, right? And what do? They
They
go
do
and
it.
eat,
They do
right?
it.
So that's their way of saying, no, we don't, God, thank you for your plan, but we're going to go with our plan. And our plan is rational. And I say rational because the serpent appears and the serpent says, well, listen, why wouldn't you eat? The reason God doesn't want you to eat is because that way you may become like God, and God doesn't want you to become like him. So it's a way of him keeping you down. So Satan offers all these ingenious arguments. Now, some of these I'm giving you, by the way, not from the Bible directly, but from Milton's marvelous rendition of all of this in Paradise Lost. But anyway, Adam and Eve think, you know what, it makes sense for us to follow our own plan, which I think is by and large the position of the human race. And this is what the Bible means when it says all have sinned. What it means is not that we all necessarily commit particular sins, although we do, but rather all of us think that our plan is better than God's plan.
Yeah.
In fact, even our prayers, I think, are proof of that. Why?
Yeah.
Because our prayers are always, hey, God, listen, whatever idea you have for me, I have a better idea.
Yeah.
How about if I get an A on my exam? Oh, I have a better idea. How about if I find a pot of gold in my backyard?
Yeah.
Or how about if I get a promotion? Wouldn't my life be better? Wouldn't you agree, God, that this update to your plan is really a good one? Whereas if you truly prayed, you'd be like, God, you have
God's
a plan for
will.
my life. Whatever that is, let's have that.
God's
I want
will,
that.
God's will be done.
God's will be done.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
no plan I can come up with could possibly compete.
Well, and look at his plan. His plan was to send his son to die for the very sins he knew we were going to commit in the first place.
Right, right.
You know?
And I think what that shows is that that God's plan in the end was even better than the original plan. Now, it's hard to speak in this way because, of course, God is not in time. So I think when God made the world, he already knew
Oh,
that the
absolutely.
world would be fallen. He already knew that it would need a redeemer. He already knew what he would have to do. He knew all of this simultaneously. It's a very profound concept when you reflect on it a little bit.